Here I go, you better know. Lyrically, I'm like Bruce Leroy with the glow. Lyrically, I'm Bobby De Niro. Meet me, fucker, cause my plan to take over is thorough. King of kings, like I'm a pharaoh. Jesus, a triple H with my pedigree. These cats can't equate, can't relate. You're fucking with the H. Your girl can't wait. Fuck with you, she should've had a V8. Forget the ice, baby, I'm so cold. My shine so bright, the sun say whoa. My bravado can pull top bottles, they pop bottles, I pop collars, I got dollars, they hot spot holler. For big cane, my sick game, my spit flame, my sex boys could fit same. It's imminent, my ascent to the top of the list. I'm godsend, not only a client, but the president. I'm supposed to represent. I'm supposed to represent. I'm supposed to represent. I'm supposed to represent. Give me the NBC pen.
Yo, what up, though? Wealthy Thoughts episode 10. Trayce in the building.
Oh my gosh.
How's everything going?
Look, you episode 10. I'm just trying to process that.
Yeah, we on 10. We on 10. We got a long way to go, but we getting there.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, it's exciting. You know, definitely I'm enjoying it. Look, these people are giving us plenty to talk about.
Hey, yes,
they are giving us plenty to talk about.
I know last week I talked a little bit about debt cleanse, just to give an update for some people just to know. So today I actually talked to a lawyer. I know I've been with debt cleanse.
Oh wow, okay.
I've been with debt cleanse for a month now, but the thing was that I went out of town, and so I went out of town. They were trying to call me and get my intake done, but because I was out of town, that didn't happen. And then when I got back, I had some things going on, so I didn't get in contact with them when I needed to.
Okay.
But I finally got in contact with some lawyers with them, and they got me in intake with the lawyer, and just some of the information that the lawyer gave me about different things that you do was great. So like I said, I'm not gonna give that information online because I'm not a lawyer, and I don't want nobody suing me when they try to do it.
Right.
So, but if anybody want to know anything about what they're doing, debt cleanse really is. Just give me a call, 404-438-7113, anywhere in the country. Debt cleanse service is 47 states. I forgot the 3 states that they do not service. But we find out if you in one of those states and we find out they don't service you, then we'll try to get you some different type of help. But the only other thing is, the lawyer, I was very impressed by the lawyer. I love what they talked to me about and the different they're starting to do to get my credit score even higher. So I had been working on it on my own, and it definitely had risen, but I can see where it's gonna go here from here, and that's a great thing. So just anybody else is definitely if you got a real low credit score in the 600s, if you're trying to break the 700s, they can get some of that stuff off of there that can push you over that top.
Okay.
So that was that. Other thing that's going on, can't really think of nothing else right now. How's everything going in Detroit right now as far as the weather? I'll be up there next week. By the time this air, I'll be been there, but I'll be up there next week. And so how's the weather going?
So right now, it's interesting. We had a couple snowstorms come through. We had a bad snowstorm last Friday.
Okay.
Went into Saturday morning. What'd you say?
The snow melted.
Snow melted. Right. Going into Sunday, warmed up. Now everything, streets pretty clear. There's, residual snow, like just little snow banks. But now it's slated to snow again this Friday, 3 to 5 inches. So
snow again. Okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be cold next week. That's what I need to know so I can know what to pack.
I will let you know. Right now it's 3 to 5 inches on Friday, and I'm not sure what it's supposed to be for next week. I guess we'll have to Google that. But
yeah, I'm sitting.
I think the weather patterns across the country just have been off. California.
It felt like 80 degrees here yesterday. So
Look, you and my son who's in Denver was saying it's about to be 70 degrees there. I was like, I'm not speaking to either one of y'all. So just know.
It felt like it was 80 degrees yesterday. We was
Look,
out.
I miss that beautiful Georgia weather, Alabama weather. Wish I was there, and I'm probably gonna have to hop on a plane one of these weekends and just fly down for like an extended weekend.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So I know we were slated to talk about the Chris Rock special. Yeah, the Chris Rock special. Very, very interesting. A lot of people has had stuff to say about it.
Yeah.
I saw Jaden Smith had something. I don't know exactly.
Oh, did he? Okay, I'm curious because you probably have been reading some responses.
Say I didn't really get a chance to see what he said. I may try to pull it up while we're talking. I didn't get a chance to see what Jaden Smith said. I did hear that some of Jada Pinkett Smith's family, I mean, well, her group, they said that he's obsessed with her and stuff like that. Everybody got a take on it. You got, I don't know. What did you think about it?
So let me say this. I started laughing from the very beginning. Okay. I'm still laughing. To put it in perspective, the marketing and the billing going into this was that this was going to be about his response. He was finally going to speak about the slap that was heard around the world. And everybody now knows, I mean, unless you were living under some rock or somewhere where there was absolutely no television, Chris Rock was slapped publicly by Will Smith at the Oscars last year.
Yeah.
At the time, Chris Rock did not respond in that moment.
No. He said on the show that's because he got parents.
He did not respond in the moment. He did not say anything following that incident. Media hounded him. They wanted a response. They wanted to know why he didn't react. In the meantime, the Academy took action. Will Smith, I think, had to give up his membership. He did get his Oscar that night, interestingly enough. But that incident, not only did he slap Chris Rock, but I mean, I'm sorry, it just affected everything. It affected the Oscars themselves. It's cast a pall over the Oscars that the Oscars still is having to deal with. I don't know. I mean, it feels different going into the Oscars this year. I mean, I have always been a fan of watching the Oscars, even when the actresses and the actors that I wanted to win didn't win, or the pictures or whatever. It's been a thing. If you're a fan of the Oscars and the ceremony and just watching it, it's something that you look forward to every year. I was watching that show live when that happened. I saw it live when it happened. When I initially saw it, I thought it was some sort of skit or something initially. And then the reality of it sunk in, and I was just like, oh my God, what happened? And then, I was looking at Twitter, and people overseas were tweeting because of the time, I guess, lapse or whatever. They were tweeting, that this man had just slapped him. And I was just like, oh my God. So I think this year's Oscars will feel different. Hopefully people will still enjoy it and have a good time. I think they're trying to put a lot of effort into it, but I was really upset and hurt because last year's Oscars production was a behind the scenes, all Black African-American crew, producer, music, everything. And I was so excited about that. And then Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And so people were eagerly anticipating, what is Chris Rock going to say? I applaud Chris that he didn't just come straight out the gate. I mean, he teased it kind of throughout that hour, a little bit over an hour. But when he got to it, he got to it. You know, he said what he had to say. The comments that I've read, that, you know, he was more than entitled to have his say, to express his feelings.
I totally agree with that.
I'm interested to know, you as a man, as a black man, one of the things that I thought about as I read the comments when Chris Rock talked about it hurt him, not just physically, but emotionally, because he has admired Will Smith as one brother to another. And as you know, I mean, men in their relationships and their bromances, there are different nuances to how men engage and interact with each other that is different from women. So I believe him when he says that he admired Will, and that he admired his work and his music and all of those things. And so that made that slap even more degrading and hurtful for him. Yeah. And so as a man, he's got to work through that, because I'm going to tell you, when I saw his face, the close up on Chris Rock's face at the end of his performance,
he looked like he was about to cry.
It hurt me to my soul. I was like,
when he dropped the mic, you could tell he was holding back tears. And I was just watching a young lady talk. She'd been on the tour with him, because, you know, before the live taping of any show, or any taping of any show, they do a number of shows before that to tweak the performance and see what they're gonna do. So she had been to Atlanta, to all the different shows he had put on since then. Since, you know, I think he had done like maybe 3 or 4 shows right before this live, so that they could get ready. And she was saying how he had tweaked it, but she said the day of the show, he seemed to be in a different place, in a more a more focused place. Really, what he said, she said something that happened the day of the live taping that didn't happen all the other tapings, was they were all backstage in all the other tapings, or not tapings, but all the other shows that wasn't being taped. And she said when this show came up, they told everybody to leave backstage. At a certain point, they told everybody to leave backstage, and he just spent that time to himself. She was talking about how Dave Chappelle was there with him, and had been at all the shows with him, and how he expressed how proud he was of him for putting it down. The thing is this: you said as a man, how first off, I commend Chris Rock. I don't know if I commend him. Let me take that back. I can't use that word. I'll say this: Chris Rock showed a lot of discipline in not doing anything to Will Smith that night.
And I think that he should be commended for that. I think that we do need to acknowledge that he could have reacted very differently.
Yeah,
it could have been a fisticuffs up on that
stage.
Yeah,
because if it would have been me, they would have still been in that commercial break.
Look. I see you got your shirt on, and at the top I see black. I don't know what it says underneath.
It say Black Dollar. But yeah, we'd have had to fight that night, and one of us might have had to die. I don't know, but we definitely would have fought that night. I'm not saying I would have whooped Will Smith behind or nothing like that, but he would have known never to try that again. Not with me or nobody else, but definitely not with me. I mean, I told my son this a long time ago. I said, man, when I was in elementary school, it was a kid that when we were like in the 3rd grade, he should have been like in the 6th grade, but he was still in the 3rd grade with us. And he bullied people. You know what I'm saying? He bullied people. And we were walking to the bus one day, and he bullied. He was bullying me. And I can't remember what he was trying to get. If he was trying to get some money from me, or if he was just messing with me. I don't know what he was doing, but he was messing with me or whatever. And I was the only one out of everybody that was like, look, no, I'm not. No, we got. I threw my punches. Yeah, I got pushed down. I got beat up a little bit, but he never messed with me again. And really, after that, me and him became friends. And anybody that messed with me, he messed with them. because at that point he knew like I can't mess with him. He gonna fight back.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't gonna allow him just to do that. You know,
mm-hmm.
he messed with everybody else. I never said nothing about him messing with nobody else because it wasn't my fight. But when it was my fight, I was like, we got to fight. I don't care. You might beat me up. You might, you know, he's bigger than me, so it was what it is. So I get Will Smith was bigger than him, and Will Smith definitely bigger than me. But we would have been on.
And he talked about that, and he talked about the fact that
we would have been on that stage tussling.
When you know that you are, when you know that you have the upper hand,
yeah.
Whether you know that you're bigger than that person, or that you have more influence or more power or whatever. One of the things that Chris Rock said was, physically, Will Smith was bigger than him, and he knew. And when he got up on that stage and he went at him like that, he knew as he was approaching him, he knew where he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he took a tremendous risk. He rolled the dice. And on a certain level, the dice went in his favor because he still got his Oscar. I personally feel that they should have immediately snatched his name out of the running. Even though his name was, listed as one of the nominees that night, if I was part of the Academy backstage, I would have immediately said, do not call his name. You can call all the other nominees, do not call his name.
So I mean, I'm gonna say this, like you said, yeah, he's because he just got an award recently. I can't remember what award. He just was awarded something a couple weeks ago. And so they about to do Bad Boys 4. And so he's back. I mean, it's not a big, it's over, you know what I'm saying? But I did, when it happened, there was this conspiracy thought process that that this was all a setup. And so I that came out, that was all a setup. It was a conspiracy process, that thought process that, hey, they set this up, they set it up, and those two black people allowed themselves to be used as pawns in the white man's game, rich white man's game. That's everybody, just real quick, just on another one. There is a YouTube video called, and if you can find it, may still be on YouTube. I haven't watched it in a long time. It's called "Everything Is a Rich White Man's Game," and it is very interesting. It's about a lot of different conspiracy theories over time, over the years, but it's very interesting. And so so that was another one where they were like, hey. This is the first time that you had black producers, black directors, black background for the Oscars, and then two black people get up there and act the fool, or at least one. And so at the end of the day, I'm gonna say this: Chris Rock is a comedian. We know he's all and he's never been he's never took no shorts. He talk about he's a equal opportunity when it comes to talking
comedian, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, he's never took any shorts. I found it hard for me to understand. Jada and Will sat down there. Jada didn't necessarily laugh, but she smiled at first. Will laughed and then looked at her, and she looked at him like, I'm not laughing, and then he got up there. And my thing is this: we as a husband and wife team, you're supposed to protect each other. And so
say that again.
So,
and I'm gonna tell you, and as a black woman, let me say this: whether you my man or my brother, me and you, we sitting, this dude up on stage says something, whatever. Look, and I said this to my daughters. When you have that type of relationship with folks and y'all that tight, you feel them. I don't even have to be looking at you, but I can feel you move. I can feel you tense up. I can feel the wind. When I got that whiff of wind that you leaning forward, I'm gonna grab you,
Yeah,
grab
she
the
was
sleeve of
she
your
was supposed to
hoodie,
grab him
and
and
I'm
say,
like,
"Hey,
Randy,
chill
this
out.
is not the
This
time.
is not the time. Talk to him later. Talk to him backstage. Don't
Just
do this on
take a
camera."
breath.
You
Take a
know what I'm
breath.
saying?
You
She
women,
she was supposed to do that. The other thing that bothered me about what Jada did was this. After it was over, she still never really had his back. When it was over, she had got on her little red table show. And I ain't gonna call it, I'm being funny when I say her little red table because I don't really give a damn. I never really liked the show anyway, even before August Alsina, any of this stuff. I never really liked the show anyway. Because she always had some weird stuff going on to me. But she got on that show by herself and talked about the situation and talked about how these two black men need to go and get counseling or whatever, and basically threw Will under the bus. Like, I didn't ask him to do that. And at that point, that should have been her time to stand by her man's side and be like, you know what I'm saying? You talk to him at home. Why you do that dumb shit?
look, let me say this.
Like, that was what she should have done. You talk to him at home. Why you do this dumb shit? Why did you do that? That you shouldn't have done that. That ain't what I wanted you to do. But when she get out in public, she'd be like, hey, my man was trying to protect me, blah, blah, blah. That's how I should have been. It should have never been where you felt like there was this disconnect between the two of them. But there's been a disconnect between the two of them forever.
Say that.
And she's
Say
always
that.
been on the show. She's always been on her show saying stuff that was just almost damn near disrespectful to this man.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to touch on, because I feel like she has been on a mission to destroy her own man. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to say that. In the Bible, it talks about there's a scripture, and I believe it's in Proverbs, that talks about it. It says it is better for a man to live in a corner of his house. And the King James Version says under an eave in your house than live in a house with a contentious woman. Okay. Meaning find you a spot far away from her.
Yeah.
Okay. In the house.
Yeah.
Because a contentious woman is dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous. And so, look, people talk about the pen being mightier than the sword. People talk about the power of words. You and I both know the power of platform, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitter, whatever it is. Be mindful of how you use that power and how you use that influence and how you wield it.
Yeah, Chris Rock started the show off talking about words, and words ain't never hurt nobody. Or
people say that.
He said words. He said people say words hurt, but he's like, people that say that must ain't never been punched. But the fact of the matter is, words do hurt. Words are important. Many people hurt themselves every day with the words that they speak out of their own mouth.
Listen,
and so
when you talked about Jada and her actions, Chris called that out.
Yeah.
He said, look, she had him on. He said, why would you?
Yeah, why would you go on her show and ask her about having sex with another man? And it was the worst. It was the worst when it happened. It was the worst thing in the world.
There was no therapist present, which there needed to be a licensed therapist who probably would have told them, this is not the way that you want to do this.
And Will looked like he was about to cry on that show.
And what I'm saying is, as Chris Rock said,
but that's Will's fault.
This man was wounded and hurt. And he said all of this crap is happening in his life. And who does he decide to hit? Me.
Yeah. Yeah. And he went on with all the bitches. He said bitch about 1,000 times. And at the end of the day, that last 10 minutes of that was not comedy. It had some funny parts to it because it was just true, but it wasn't comedy. That was all personal.
Listen, let me say this.
That was all. I'm mad and I'm personal.
You could hear it. You could hear it in his voice. You could see it in his face. by the time he was done, I almost felt like he still kind of felt like what just happened. Because sometimes when you get in that space, you can just kind of like zone out.
I mean, he messed up one of the jokes, and he said it right after he messed it up because he started the joke off talking about emancipation. He was like, he said, concussion. I just messed up the joke. He said that, so he wasn't nowhere near coherent. He was just flying.
His emotions,
he had a script, but his emotions got the best of him.
The fact that he was able to, that was the only mistake that he made that we know of.
Yeah.
During that little hour, I would say more than an hour, just slightly over an hour performance. Hats off to him because he really did, for the most part, stay focused. And listen, he talked about a lot of other things. We're talking about the Will Smith piece.
Yeah, we
talked about that was the thing. That people really tuned in to hear. Yeah. And, like you said, he spoke exactly, how he felt.
Yeah.
But, the title of his performance was Selective Outrage.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about and gave valid examples of selective outrage, not just by Will Smith, but by us. He called everybody out, including himself.
Yeah.
He talked about himself as a parent. He talked about himself as a former husband, as an ex-husband. He didn't leave anybody out. Mm-hmm. And so on a certain level, you asked me how I felt about it when we started this segment off, and I said I laughed. But I'm gonna tell you, there were parts of it that were very uncomfortable because there were some uncomfortable truths that he spoke in that.
Okay.
In which he talked about the hypocrisy.
Okay.
He talked about Michael Jackson and R. Kelly.
Yeah, I didn't like that part because Michael Jackson was never convicted, and we don't have no proof. Everything that has come out about Michael Jackson has shown us that these people lied about him, and I didn't like that part. Michael Jackson, one of his nephew said something about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that part. I thought I'm like, man, let this be. Y'all constantly bringing up Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson dead and gone.
And that's the other piece, that he is deceased. And I do feel from that standpoint, if someone is no longer alive, then we need to have a certain respect for those that are no longer.
It'd be different if we had proof that he did this and he was convicted of it. Mm-hmm. R. Kelly was convicted. We all, we all knew that R. Kelly
was holding people hostage up in there, and he had people.
We all knew R. Kelly was doing that. He was with Aaliyah, and all us from Detroit, we knew that story before anybody else really knew the story. So that's just what it is. So that part, we know that about him, but that part I didn't like. I think I'm gonna be honest with you. The comedy special was okay. Mm-hmm. There was no laugh out loud moments for me, except for the one moment when he said that he took his kids to Disney World and he was down in the bottom. He was getting twerked on by
Minnie Mouse.
Minnie Mouse. Yeah. He said that rat ass was on that. That was I watched it twice. Only reason I watched it the second time was because I knew we were going to talk about it, and I just wanted to make sure I remembered some of the stuff. But that both times I watched it, I laughed out on that one. And then there was another moment. I can't even remember the other moment, but it was another moment.
He talked about,
he talked about when he was talking about Anita Baker. He was like, I ain't trying to get with Anita Baker. I'm trying to fuck Doja Cat. When he said that, that was funny as hell to me because I was like, yeah, I get it. Just because I'm old don't mean I want to be. If I got money,
just when he was talking about, go with me to pick up my car, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I found it. I found it wasn't bad. I don't want to say that. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't. It wasn't the funniest to me. I remember. I remember the Chris Rock, the one where he talked about the tossed salad man. Back in the day, I think that was like 96, 97. He was wearing that black leather suit. that was one of his funniest stand-ups that he ever did. I still haven't seen a stand-up that he's done that was funnier than that one. That one was hilarious. But I mean, he is
when he talked about the Capitol riots. I thought that was, very interesting.
The Capitol riots was good. I mean, like I said, it wasn't that the stuff wasn't good. Everything was insightful that he talked about. But it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me personally. It wasn't just laugh out loud funny. I wasn't sitting there like like it wasn't making me.
And I think also too, one of the things that he said from the outset is that I'm going to try and do a show without offending anyone.
Yeah, I think when he said that, I knew. I was like, well, he's about to offend everybody.
You said what now?
Well, he's about to offend everybody. That's a disclaimer right there. That's I'm about to offend everybody. But
exactly, and I felt the same. I was in the same headspace on that. But I mentioned that because I think there is a how do I say it? A form of kind of self-censorship that some comedians have imposed on themselves as a result of, as Chris Rock referenced, the woke movement. And that there has been these consequences and repercussions against comedians. He talked about how, a person tried to stab Dave Chappelle at their show. And they had to take him down. Dave has spoken out and been very candid and very frank about some things. People have reacted to the fact that he was hosting SNL. People feel that, a number of his remarks have been anti-Semitic. That's a big one. When you say something about, the Jewish community, Jews, whether, you see what happened with Kanye West.
Yeah.
And Adidas is sitting on what they say $500,000 of merchandise.
They made a pact to go on and sell the rest of that merchandise now. So they're gonna
sell. Did they?
Yeah, they made a deal to sell the rest of the merchandise. Nothing is known about what they're gonna do from there.
Yeah, but my point is they made a decision to part ways with him.
Yeah.
And didn't think it through about how it was going to affect them financially.
Yeah. Well, they didn't want to think it through. They wanted to make sure that they kept themselves looking like they, the powers that be, were whatever. And the thing was, at the end of the day, I think what they wanted to happen happened. Which is, getting Kanye off the air, making him look like he was crazy. In many ways, he is. He does need some help. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that
nobody has ever. I don't think
Kanye.
We have all known
that broke. He's another one of those broke clocks. That's
we've always known that. That's not new.
Twice a day, you know what I'm saying? So
we have always said when Kanye gets out there, we're like, he's not on his meds.
Yeah, he's so
and I have always said that him marrying Kim Kardashian is one of the worst things that he could have ever done.
Yeah.
He has beautiful kids, and and I will say, knowing that sometimes, you don't marry or have a relationship with the right person. But you still, you love your kids. You have beautiful children that come out of that union.
Yeah, no doubt.
But knowing Kanye's history and understanding his mental health issues and how his mom was a very integral figure in keeping him kind of sane and focused, and her death really just kind of left him out there. And he did not seem to, following that, have anybody really in his camp. Or I would say the people that were in his camp that tried to help him, he wasn't responding to that. They weren't able to corral him in and help him in the way that he needed to be helped. And then he fell in with the Kar Jenners, and that just was not good for him.
Yeah, I find, back, going back to the comedians and different things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and us talking about selective outrage, even with Kanye, there was the selective outrage. Black people were all mad. Right before that, black people were mad at him because he was with Candace Owens, and he had that shirt on, whatever that shirt was. So right before that, everybody was mad at him. Then when he came out and he was talking about the Black Hebrew Israelites and everything like that, then all of a sudden black folks got on the side again. And my thing is, I'm a fan of some of his music, his early music.
You and I both.
I'm a fan of
you
his
and I both. Yeah.
I'm honest with you. Like when I listened to Donda, I didn't like Donda from a musical point of view. I didn't like Donda, but just from a producer's point of view, from a person that's been in the studio and done production, I hadn't heard nothing. I hadn't heard too many rap albums or albums like that was produced that way. The quality of the production was ridiculous. As far as just the way it sounds, the way you can hear background sounds, the way it panned out, just different stuff like that. I could see the work that was put in it. But as a, am I about to bump Donda down the street? No, I'm not about to bump down the street. But if I wanted to sit up and listen to Donda and then listen to some music that I had to mix down or something like that, I would listen to Donda just to get ideas of how to move, how to pan stuff back and forth and figure stuff out like that. So I thought that about him. So with that selective outrage, I was also thinking about some other things that's going on in today's, another comedian that came out recently and was talking about how Gary Owens, you know who Gary Owens is? White guy. So the white black guy.
I like Gary. He's one of my folks. I love him.
Yeah. So Gary Owens was talking because old boy Deion Sanders had just came out about a week or two ago talking about how he wouldn't, when he looking for a quarterback, he looking for a 2-family home and blah blah blah. And then when he looking for a linebacker or somebody, he looking for a single family home, somebody that's hungry and daddy ain't at home and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, he said that was what he said.
Is that what Deion said that?
Deion said that. But Gary Owens,
oh, wow.
Gary Owens posted online. He said, I said it first. And about 8 years ago, Gary Owens did a joke where he was talking about the NFL draft. And he said, yeah, when the NFL draft come, these guys, they come, and when they looking for a quarterback, they looking for a guy that's come from a 2-family home, stable, went to a real good school, got good grades and blah, blah, blah. And he said, but when they looking for a defensive back or the lineman, they looking for somebody whose daddy ain't been there, who come from a single parent home. He said the joke was, he said, so he's like, so I get that guy and be like, yeah, we know you ain't seen your father, but we went out and found your father. And he said they'll be like, we got him some tickets. He's gonna be sitting at the 50-yard line. And he said they had him 2 tickets, they had him 2 seats open. And when he come out, and he'd be like, yeah, and they were like, he didn't. I don't see my dad. Where is he at? And he was like, he didn't show up again for you. Go out there and kill him.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
It was a joke, but the fact of the matter was, what he was saying was like, I said this years ago before Deion said it. And, and black folks that was in the audience, not saying these the same black folks, but I'm just saying black folks in the audience laughed at it. It was funny to them. He didn't say a black kid or a white kid. He just said NFL player. But, black folks in the audience laughed at it. And so you fast forward now to Deion, back to that selective outrage. You fast forward now to Deion, you got a lot of black people mad at Deion for saying it. I didn't agree with it. I didn't necessarily agree with it either. And one reason I didn't agree with it is because Deion talking about he getting quarterbacks from a 2-family home, a 2-parent home.
I also think that
him and his wife divorced, and his son is his quarterback.
Now, isn't he remarried to Trayce Edmonds?
He is. He remarried, but what I'm saying is it doesn't sit with the narrative.
Got you. Yeah, and I would just say too, to that, to Gary Owens' point, he made that joke 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And to Chris Rock's point, we're now at a level of, kind of wokeness. There are things that you could joke about 8-10 years ago. They were funny. We laughed. And now it's not.
So
It just not, and it's like, how do you handle that? I mean, case in point.
Okay, give me one.
Books.
Okay.
I've always read to my children.
Mm-hmm.
They always love books, and any parent knows, what's the most fun part of your parent reading a book to you? Them doing the sound effects, the voices, the whole nine. So there is a book series that I would read to my kids, Skippy John Jones.
Okay.
Skippy John is a little chihuahua.
Okay.
No, is he a cat? No, he's a cat. He's
okay.
a cat. He's a cat. He's got siblings and his mom, and he's a cat, but he thinks he's a chihuahua.
Okay.
And he's very active. They kind of allude to the fact that he might have like ADHD or whatever. But anyway, so Skippy John is always running around, and he talks with a Spanish accent. Okay. And so, of course, you're a parent reading this book, and you gotta, make the Spanish accent. And so, my kids were saying to me recently, that's insensitive, Mom. That's not funny. That you're not being sensitive when you, Taco Bell. You quiero Taco Bell. I'm just
so this is my thing.
When did that? I'm like, what?
This is my thing. Like certain things to me. Certain things to me is like we are sensitive to too much stuff. Like, for instance, you like living,
and I think that's what Chris Rock was trying to say.
Living Color, for instance, that the show in Living Color,
classic, loved it.
Never come out today because everybody would be all in the up.
And I want them to bring it back.
Men on Films, when they did Men on Films. That could never play today because everybody would be all in a tizzy about it. And the thing was that even it's like you mad because he acting the way y'all be acting, like what you mad because he's showing you how y'all be acting? Because I live down here in Atlanta, and that's how a lot of these cats be running around here. Like, and you can do what you want. That's your life. You can do what you want to do. Whether I agree with it, whether I don't agree with it, it doesn't matter. Your life is your life. But to make a joke about something, and I'm not stopping you from getting the job when I make this joke. Mm-hmm. I'm not stopping you from doing it when I make this joke. I'm just I'm laughing at what I see. Mm-hmm. I never forget. I never forget when and I may be canceled for something like this, but when I was young, we used to do silly stuff. Me and my family used to do silly stuff. Mm-hmm. And so one time they parked in the handicap zone, and they was like, let's hurry up and run in and get what we need. And so my silly behind got out, and I start talking real slow, and I start dragging my leg, and it was people watching, and they ran, and my family ran away from me. They ran from me as I was doing it, but I was like, where are you going? And I was dragging my leg. And I was dragging my leg.
People were probably like, you're leaving him.
Yeah, people were looking like they didn't know whether to laugh.
I know your mother was like,
they didn't know.
I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah, my mom was mad when we got in the store. She's like, don't do that shit no more. but at the moment when it was going on, they didn't want to say nothing. And so my stepbrother, my stepfather, they ran in. My mom was like walking and looking back at me like this fool. And I just kept doing. I was like, where are you going? Where are you? And I just kept. Why are you running from me? I was doing stupid stuff. And I'll be honest with you, like it was just me being fun. I wasn't. I trying to be insensitive to it was probably more insensitive for us to park in a spot than it was.
Listen,
you know what I'm saying? It was probably more insensitive for us to park in that spot than it was for me to do what I did.
Yes,
because we kept them from. If somebody came up, now we went in there, came right back out and left. Hopefully, we didn't take nobody's spot. Looking back on it, that to me that was more insensitive. I was just making a joke.
I have done all those things. My kids, when my kids were younger, and I'm like, look, I'm poor. I say I'm still poor. But entertaining them, reading to them, acting out certain characters. I did a lot of that as a mom to entertain them. And they enjoyed that.
Yeah.
They got a big kick out of that. And so I would do the voices.
Now you insensitive.
Well, and it's just interesting because people make, a lot of money doing voiceovers. And, Chris Rock has been the voice of the zebra in the what's the
I can't remember those movies, but I know.
And the crazy part is and I just think about that. Jada Pinkett Smith plays the hippo in those movies.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. I was just
there's pictures with him hugging both of them. He's standing in between them hugging them.
And that's why I'm saying
they were cool. They were cool a long time ago. Like you said in the special, she came out and said something about him when they didn't nominate, and she was trying to get everybody to boycott the Oscars, and he was like, "I'm not losing my money."
As he's
and I didn't agree with him back then when he said I would. I was like, I've always been one that's like, we all probably should have been boycotted the Oscars. They halftime, they not, they've gotten better over the last few years.
Listen, as I said earlier, I've always
say 5-10 years, maybe last 5 years.
I've been a fan of the show,
mm-hmm.
but then there are things that I haven't liked. And let me be honest, there have been years that I didn't watch
mm-hmm.
because I was mad at them. I was like, look, I felt that Denzel should have been nominated for Best Actor for his portrayal of Malcolm X. He
mm-hmm.
won for Training Day.
Yeah.
I was mad about that.
A couple movies he should Hurricane, when he did Hurricane, he should have won for that.
He's a great actor. And
movies that he did and he never got
legitimately
anything.
Probably should have had multiple Oscars.
Yeah.
Okay, just like Beyonce got all these Grammys. Look, Denzel, there's a bunch of Oscars that he should have won. Fences with him and Viola Davis, great movie. I mean, every movie he's ever been in, he's done a phenomenal job. Yeah. And I think that goes without saying. Yeah. But I mean, for me, Malcolm X, he transformed himself. I mean, he physically transformed himself so that his physical appearance, I've never seen anybody look so much like the real Malcolm X. And then he did a phenomenal job portraying Malcolm X in that mm-hmm. movie. Spike Lee, the whole project.
Yeah.
And
one movie of the year that year.
Never have gotten the recognition deserved. Same thing for Spike Lee as a filmmaker. So, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have issues with the Academy and the Oscars. Absolutely, I do. But also to Chris Rock's point, to understand, look, when you have the opportunity to earn a paycheck, you are not out here doing anything illegal. This man is not out here robbing a bank. And the truth of the matter is, he could have passed that opportunity up. They would have given it to somebody else, and it would not have made a bit of difference. That's just the truth of the matter.
It wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have made a difference.
It would not have.
Yeah, he would have still got movies and still been paid and still done the different things he's done.
It would not have changed anything as far as the way that the Academy operates.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't have done that either. And the thing is,
go ahead.
I think the thing is for me, and this is outside of Chris Rock or anything.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is for me with a lot of things that Black people do. When we start talking about boycotting and stuff like that, I don't believe in boycotting. You show me you don't want me there, I'm not going to be there. I'm done. Because there's so many other options. Or if there is not another option, we should be trying to make our own
create
option.
One. And I totally...
The problem, just real quick, and the problem is, I've just seen just recently in the last couple of years where I've seen Black people start to go to their own shows dressed up nice, doing the right thing. But for years, we go to our shows. let me like I tell you, you know, I like to wear hoodies. I like to dress down. I don't necessarily like to, but when I'm taking care of business, I'm suited and booted, ready to go. And so to me, we start doing shows where it's about Black excellence, and we are making you know, the BET awards, the Soul Train awards, the different stuff like that. Dress up, show respect for your award, because when y'all go to these other awards, y'all dress up. These awards that where they ain't even gonna give you nothing, but these awards is where it's all about you. Dress up, do you know, and dress up,
represent, take pride. Yeah,
take pride in what you're doing, and stop acting like, oh, this ain't nothing. Our stuff should matter, and it should be, you know, that should be, you know, I can't remember who won something. They won an NAACP award, and they said they was like, you know, yes, I have won an Oscar, but this right here is more important because it came from my people. My people believed in me. This is more important. I think the person had won an Oscar, but whoever it was, I can't remember who it was that said that. But my thing is, that's how you should feel. You should feel that way, because at the end of the day, yes, the Oscars is the blah blah blah. It's the top award, right? But it's only the top award because at the end of the day, everybody believes it's the top award. But you have to make your stuff become top. You have
the Academy is
become big.
The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has established itself, as being that deal.
Yeah.
Okay. And people follow suit.
Yeah.
And if people stop following suit, then that helps bring about change, or at least it creates a pause in which the Academy has to examine some things.
Yeah, and that's which is why I say, boy, don't boycott. If you're done, be done. I'm not boycotting. If I gotta boycott you, I'm done with you. I'm never using you again.
And I think
I get back in the day we had to get back on the buses. I get all that, but I'm just talking about people talking about, oh, I'm boycotting H&W.
I don't
going back to H&W.
And I don't disagree with you. I do think that you have brought up a very valid point. And I do think that is the question that we as an African American, as a Black community, need to ask ourselves right now. We need to ask ourselves, what is it that we want? What is it that we really want? And what will it take to get what we want?
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes it's what you think you want.
Yeah.
And that's not really it. Because to your point, if you're trying to move into a neighborhood where these folks don't want you to be, they don't want your kids in their schools, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not.
What do you accomplish by fighting, suing to get a home in that neighborhood where these people still are not going to ever accept you? They're going to be harassing your child and saying nasty things to your child and causing them to have a horrible experience in what should be a fun experience when you're in school.
Yeah. I'm not doing it.
Who wants to do it?
If anything, what my next step would be, as and I'm gonna take a white man saying, the best revenge is success.
But too many of us do it, Randy, and that's
I know too many of us do it, but I I can't, just like I don't really watch NFL football, right? I stopped watching NFL football once all the Colin Kaepernick stuff happened. It wasn't just because of Colin Kaepernick, it was just because of what I noticed was this: a person stood up for something that he believed in, and because he was Black, you guys didn't back him. But you got guys that's in the league that been charged with rape 3-4 times and they still playing. Well, you know, this person is retired now. You got another guy that was charged with murder and he the best. You know, we consider him as one of the best linebackers to ever play the game. And don't get me wrong, that was all in his past. He obviously changed his life and did things, but they let these people play. They gave them jobs. They kept them working. And this man couldn't even get a job. For me, it was like, I'm done. And I remember a friend of mine saying, he was like, well, if he ever get a job, I mean, I was like, yeah, I'm just not watching it anymore. He was like, well, I mean, he don't care. I mean, you think he gonna give you some money if he get a job? I said, well, they're not giving you no money for watching it. You spending your time watching it. They're not giving you no money for watching it. Like, I'm not telling you to not watch it. I'm telling you where my conviction was at. I'm not telling nobody not to watch it. You got to do what you want to do. You know, as the time go on, you know, when I'm around a bunch of people, but if I'm at home, you're not gonna see NFL football on my TV. But if I'm out and they're watching it, I'm not gonna not sit down. I don't have to go through the whole, I'm not watching it. All that is not necessary. I don't give them my money. I'm not buying NFL products. I'm not buying any of that. The only time you will ever see me watch an NFL game from this point on is if one of my kids decide to play in the NFL, and I'll be watching one of their games. And
I think that's one of the things, you know, and that's kind of, you know, like I said, again, going back to, you know, Chris Rock's special. I thought that it was very timely for him to call it selective.
Yeah.
Outrage. I felt like the overarching point of the message for those watching and for those attending was that we need to think about what's happening now. We need to think about what's happening in our lives. We need to think about what's happening in society, why we feel the way we feel, what we have the power to do, what we have the power to change, and then determine if that's what you're going to commit yourself to. Because I think that as a society, we often pay lip service to things, but in reality, the discomfort is not something that we're willing to subject ourselves to, and change requires discomfort.
Yes.
You know, change is disruptive.
Yeah. On the other side of uncomfortability is millions.
What'd you say now?
On the other side of uncomfortability is millions.
Exactly. And so, you know,
whatever that millions is, and they got to be money to millions and change, millions and whatever. You know, the goal is on the other side of being uncomfortable.
Right. And, you know, and so, you know, when we're talking about, you know, Adidas and, you know, their decision not to sell, you know, Yeezy, but now they've circled back and they're like, okay, because again, they didn't think that through. You know, they made a decision in the moment about we're not going to be associated with Kanye because we're concerned about this group of people and what they're saying to us right now.
Yeah.
But then
is a German company too, so I think they felt like they had to.
And then, you know, making the decision to partner with Beyonce and do Ivy Park, but then that has not resulted in the type of numbers that they projected. Yeah. It's not as popular.
I'm still very. I've seen the Yeezy shoes. I've seen some of the clothing. I don't. It's not my thing. I'm just be honest with you.
I'm not saying that it's cute.
I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm trying to figure out who's buying this shit because I don't see it like in the hood.
Wealthy,
so I'm like,
wealthy white kids.
It's got to be like
white kids,
Miami.
Yes,
just got to. I just ain't never. I only know one person that had some Yeezy flip flops, and he was like, "Man, these things comfortable in the mud." But I was like, "Man, I'm not spending no $200."
it was nothing attractive about that stuff. To me, the color of it was like clay. It was like wet clay. It was not. It was not to me anything that I could wear with anything. The price point was insane to me, but they couldn't keep it in stock, and every time they, had a product roll out, people were buying it and it was selling out. So it was interesting, to me that they were like, oh, we're not gonna do this, but then you didn't have a plan for how you were going to handle this merchandise that you had remaining. And so now you got to pivot back and, kind of do a reverse on the decision that you made because, you need to sell that merchandise. But I mean, at the end of the day, I guess just to kind of wrap up my comments on that, I'm glad that Chris had his moment to say what he needed to say, because when you are hurt, when you are wounded, that needs to be acknowledged. And the person who wounded and hurt you needs to acknowledge that to you. And they need to be willing to do whatever it takes. If they truly mean that they're sorry, to try and make it better. And not to say that that's going to happen overnight. It may be something that's an ongoing effort.
No, it took Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas 20 years to finally get back on TV together and hug it out.
Right. So, but you don't, when you really care about someone,
30 years.
You don't give up. You continue to try and work at that and to make it better. And, if you need to, if that person needs a space to be able to do that, be willing to give them that. My hope is that at some point one day that Chris Rock and Will Smith will be able to move forward, that they will be able to have a conversation in which Will Smith can look him in the eye and say, brother, I truly regret that I did that. And I truly regret that I hurt you in that way and that I caused you to feel the pain of me not, just taking advantage of you. Black man to black man, and try and, help to restore that brother. And then, as far as for the rest of what Chris said in that performance, I think he said some things that, we need to think about. So give people food for thought.
I totally agree. That I do hope them two brothers do heal and get it together, and hopefully mend whatever friendship that they may have had. I don't know how close they were, or if they were close at all. At just maybe they just were cool in passing. But at least where they can be cool in passing, because I know if it was me, it would be on site. So I somebody gotta apologize, or something gotta happen. I gotta be able to slap you back, or you gotta come to me and really give me a genuine apology.
Yeah.
Something gotta happen. If it was me. So I'm just saying, I would hope that they would be able to come together. There was something else that I just wanted to say real quick about something that Chris Rock said, and he was talking about the January 6th riots, and he was talking about how white people are woke and they outraged that they feel like they losing the country. And he said, what are they losing the country to? He said,
who are they losing it to?
Who are they losing it to? He said, because black people only got cognac and a couple of record labels.
Tequila. I thought he said no, vodka.
And a couple of record labels. That's what he said. I maybe said cognac, vodka, and a couple of record labels.
Yeah, vodka.
And so and it just made me.
I was thinking about Ciroc.
It made me think about something that I always say.
Okay.
In the 1930s, black people, there was a black car company called Patterson Automotive. And that black car company, the cars that they made, they said at the time, those cars were better made and better quality than the Ford Model T. And so those cars were made. He was not able to keep up with mass production like Ford was, and he didn't have the warehousing like Ford did to keep his company going. And eventually he moved into making buses and school buses and city buses and stuff. And so that company ended up becoming that, and then eventually it folded. To this day, there has not been another black car company in this country. And basically, I think it's only maybe one or two in the world, maybe one in Nigeria, I believe. And so this is my thing. We have to start, not that we're trying, necessarily, we have to start building, not that we're trying to take over anything, but we need to start building infrastructures and start building things. And young kids, if you're listening, go to school to become engineers, go to school to learn computers, go learn all this AI stuff that's coming out. Learn how to take these things and make it a benefit to your people. Give your people jobs that they probably wouldn't get anywhere else. Not saying don't hire white people, not saying any of that, but I am saying that a game is played. A game is played, and that game that is played it's a race game. And every other race plays the game, but black people play like we're not in a race game. We are in a race game. White people stick together, Mexicans stick together, Asians stick together, and they play this game. And we have to play this game too. We have to do business with everybody, but also make sure that we're making infrastructures for ourselves just like everyone else is. And so that's just my thoughts on that. That was something that he said that it made me think about that. Like I said, the show, the episode, the comedy show was great. It was cool. It wasn't one of his funniest ones to me. I had a couple moments where I like it, he made me laugh, but overall, I did like.
And I don't know that was his goal.
I did like the show. Yeah. I did like most of the stuff he had to say. It's definitely not something that I probably would watch a second time. And I don't know if I can say that's not his goal. I think every comedian wants to be funny when they go on stage. I think they want, but at the end of the day, the crowd laughed. That's important. The crowd laughed. The crowd that was there, that's what I'm saying. They laughed. And a lot of people found it funny. I didn't necessarily find it that funny, but I watched it and I didn't not like it either. It was like it wasn't bad. And so
it's not funny when you see a person who is in pain in the process of working out their hurt.
Yeah, and I think he did a good job of going through his act and doing everything. But overall, have I seen him do funnier things? Yes.
Absolutely.
And have Absolutely. And I don't know, I would like to think that I would like to not think that has something to do with getting older. Because I just watched Earthquake special and he's old. He's probably just as old as Chris Rock, and his special was hilarious. To me. But again,
and I think Chris's goal, if there's anything, is to try and get back to being that funny guy, because you have to understand, again, what happened to him was trauma.
Yeah. And so that's that. I think I really did I wanted to talk about it because I know that's a trending topic. Wealthy Thoughts is not just wealthy thoughts about money, and wealth is health. And that what he's definitely going through is a mental health, and Will is too.
Absolutely.
I don't want to discount. I don't. I think what he did was some sucker shit, but but I don't want to discount that he's definitely going through some mental stuff too with everything he's got going on with his family. And I don't care what nobody say. When your family doing weird stuff all across the board, that affects you, no matter how much you try to act like, oh no, I'm cool with it. You come from a traditional background, and he said that plenty of times that he's always wanted something more traditional. When you come from that, and then your whole family, everybody in the damn family is doing everything that's untraditional, that affects you. It makes you, it do make you, you still love your kids, you still love your wife. If that's where you at, but it does make you feel like what did I do wrong? And so he got mental things going on too, but that don't excuse you to go up and slap a man like that, and that wouldn't excuse the ass whooping that I would have commenced on him after he slapped me. But so, so, so that's just me. That's where I'm at with it. But Tracy, tell the people what you got going on.
Folks, nothing has changed. I'm still out here working, hustling, trying to pay the bills, trying to stay sane, mentally healthy, so that I can think wealthy thoughts and translate that into money. Trying to make that happen.
Trying to make that happen. That's what we all trying to do.
But yeah, if you have any questions, want to chat, hit me up. Reach out to me at traycebrooks@gmail.com. That's TRAYCEBROOKS@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Instagram, Trayce_B. And that's it.
All right, Tracy, you trying to make some more money? I need you to get in on this debt cleanse with me. Debtcleanse.com. I need you to get on that with me. But yeah, again, I'll have in the link. All the ways to get in contact with me will be in the description. Go to www.debtcleanse.com/MRH investments. Click on that. Find out about what Debt Cleanse is doing. What they're doing is definitely changing people's lives. I really do believe in it. I wouldn't have gotten in it if I didn't think that it was going to work, and that it is working. I've seen what it has done for some people's credit, and I've seen what it has done. I've seen some of the checks that some of the people that get it that becomes advocates. But if you don't want to become an advocate and you just, that's not for you, multi-level marketing and network marketing is not for everybody, or they don't think it is. I think anybody can do it. But if it's not for you, you can always, what's for you is to fix your credit if it's not fixed. And so become a member, get your credit fixed. They got reputable lawyers. They work with different law groups that will go. They will take things to court for you. They will do certain things for you to make that work for you. Also, if you are in the Atlanta area and you are looking for realtor help, you're looking for real estate investing, home buying, looking to sell your home, give me a call, 404-438-7113. And again, all my stuff will be in the link that I put in the description. We will see you next time on Wealthy Thoughts. Thank you again, Tracy, my wonderful host, my sister. Thank you again for coming on with me. I always, because me and you we think so much alike, we think so much different too. And so I love having these type of conversations with you, because I always want to see that other thought process on it, because while we agree with the fact that he needed this space, we also disagree with the fact that it wasn't funny, and I disagree with some of the other stuff. Like, I'm not an Oscar fan, fuck that. And so I know. But at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's all about being able to disagree, agreeably disagree, and understand that everybody has their thought process, and everybody has, and we can still figure out things along bring things together. And so thank you again. Again, I am waiting for this podcast so that I can come on and act a fool on one of the shows.
Yes, it is coming. It is coming.
And anybody, if I offended you with my acting like a handicap when I was 15, 16 years old, I'm sorry. So
listen, the disclaimer is we are here. We are, doing the show, and no, never ever want to offend anyone.
There we go.
Yeah.
Wealthy Thoughts. We out.
Good night.